There are moments in your career when you know you've got to be very rational and balanced and remember to get the right words out, not to lose it in the moment, and then suddenly all that gets blown away by a tidal wave of emotion. That is what live sport does to you, and that is what happened on the last morning of this extraordinary, fulfilling, fantastic series that we've just had. Just imagine the dramatis personae, the key characters involved in all this. There's a man who's bowled his heart out with great skill, ability. He's run in for all 5 test matches, and yet there's a chance this series will be remembered for playing on at Lord's, and in this test match for letting that catch go on the boundary. He's thinking about that. He admitted to it afterwards. There's another young man, just 25 years old. He's captain of a side, and he's got to take that instant call. Make no mistake, an instant call. He doesn't have time to make a decision tree. He's got to decide there, do I attack? Do I keep the fielders out? Where is the slog likely to go? I've got 10, 11 runs. In a game of thousands, it's down to 10 or 11 runs. And he's got to get it right. And he's got to stay very calm. What about Prasidh Krishna at the other end? Everyone's been hollering at him on social media for 2 or 3 years. His feet are tired. Siraj is tired. Akashdeep is tired. There's 3 fast bowlers who've carried the burden of the attack. And now, even though they're rested after a night, it's not easy. Now it's hard work. And they've got to come out and deliver it again and not bowl a bad ball. India bowled one bad ball. And that was the first, when Prasidh Krishna just let it drop short and Overton hit it for 4. Thereafter, India did not bowl a bad ball. To keep your composure, to keep your lengths, to keep your action flowing amidst all the tiredness and fatigue was just extraordinary. And it's all those things that come storming in when you think of what happened there. I think Nasir Hussain said 3-1 would have been a travesty. It would have been unfair, but that is how life is. It's not always fair. England were 1 hit away from making it 3-1 in spite of conceding more sessions. Yes, you could agree that it's what happens within a session that is crucial, but it gives you a decent idea. And 3-1 would have been unfair, but who said life is fair? What did India do right in that moment? All those thoughts just kept coming back to me. But the more I tried to be in the moment, the more one thought came back to me. 0 for 2. At Manchester on the 4th afternoon. A lot of people had written off the series. In our minds, we all had too. I'm sure you did too. People are buying train tickets to go away from Manchester back to London or wherever they came from. Producers are thinking, okay, what do we do on day 5? Players, I'm sure, are thinking too. The fight back that started there, and then the fight back that continued on day 5, I think just set it up. That's what it reminds me of. I'm sure you thought of it too, because you guys are much bigger fans. Escape at Sydney and winning at Brisbane. Escape at Manchester. It just briefly crossed my mind. And then I remembered what my history teacher had told me when I was leaving school. He said, history never repeats itself, my son, only the history teacher. It was a tongue-in-cheek line. And I said, no, put that away. But that's what happens. Sometimes when you pull a game back, you draw a game against the odds, it just lifts you. And I think that is what Manchester did. I remember going down to the pitch report with Cheteshwar Pujara. I don't understand pitches. He does the pitch report. I set it up. And I said, which report do we do today? Do we do a report on the 22 yards between stump and stump? Or do we do a report on what lies in the space between the ears? And I thought the match would be won by what lay between the ears. And India were the tougher team there. You saw Jamie Smith. Such a good player. He's going to be one for the next generation. Just trying to hit every ball as if to say, I don't trust the next one. I don't know what's going to happen. Jamie Overton looking to hit every ball. Gus Atkinson looking to hit every ball. I don't know if it didn't cross their mind that they could have won it in 1s and 2s with the field spread deep. But I think they were frazzled in the mind. And I think India were much the tougher side in the mind when it mattered. It was appropriate then that one of the greatest series of modern times in this country, they will liken it to the 2005 Ashes. I'd like to liken it to the 2021 Border Gavaskar Trophy. The 2001, that was only a 3-test series. India versus Australia at home, that great match in Eden Gardens, followed by the win in Chennai after being decimated in Mumbai. Thank God it had a finale that did credit to it. It was the greatest finale you will ever have. 35 runs, 4 wickets, a ball that's old and a heavy roller that's being used. And yet they found movement. This ball was speaking almost. Siraj with his outswing, Prasidh got his length right. It was bowling of the very, very highest caliber. And this is a series that anybody who has watched even glimpses of, even parts of, will never ever forget. How many heroes were there in this series? How many great performances were there in this series? I'm going to focus a little bit more on India, so let me start with England. Harry Brook is a star player. Joe Root is a legend. In the way he carries himself, in the way he bats, he's a fantastic player. Jamie Smith is one for the future. I have a lot of time for Ben Duckett, and Ben Stokes is just one of the most inspirational players going. Right against them, a young captain, Shubman Gill. What a series KL Rahul had. The toughest assignment in world cricket is to open the batting in England. You come back with an average of 41, the kind that Yashasvi Jaiswal did, and you think, I did okay. KL Rahul made upwards of 500 runs. Yashasvi Jaiswal made 400 runs. Started with 100, ended with 100. What did that ending 100 tell me? That here's a man who's willing to learn. And to me, that was the brightest spot of Yashasvi Jaiswal. What I loved about KL Rahul was the composure. It was beautiful. Batting is always great fun to watch, but KL Rahul was beautiful to watch. And he kept giving the runs just when India needed them. There was Rishabh Pant, the one player that across the world players fear in the opposition. He made almost 500 runs himself, got a couple of hundreds, and yet how good was his replacement, Dhruv Jurel? Maybe not the same spark as a batter, but I thought he kept beautifully. Then Jasprit Bumrah, the big moments. Can you remember, how many of you thought when you were watching this game, how many of you went back to India versus Pakistan and India versus South Africa at the T20 World Cup? 2 matches that were gone. It was the genius of one man that brought it back. He wasn't available, and it's peculiar. When he isn't available, Siraj just rises like that and becomes twice the bowler. It was fantastic. Washington Sundar, 53. Jadeja made 516 runs. And I remember running into some people who were saying the last person we want to see again is Ravindra Jadeja. How good has Washington Sundar been? 26 in the first innings. Then in the second, those 39 runs in that partnership where he switched on to T20 and hit the ball out of sight. And those runs, as it turned out, made the difference. He made a 53. Ravindra Jadeja is here to stay. Washington Sundar is here to stay. I liked 2 other people. I liked what I saw of Sai Sudarshan. I asked DK on the blog that we did for Crickbuzz what it is about Sai Sudarshan that I like, and I still can't get my head around it. But there's something calming. There's something you watch Sai Sudarshan and you think this kid can play. So many contributors to the cause. It would have been very sad if it had been 3-1. What about Akashdeep? Comes into play at Birmingham. Fantastic performance in Birmingham, picks up 10 wickets. Here he's carrying a shoulder injury. No one knows that. He's carrying an injury on a fall where he dived to stop a ball. He could have been remembered for the catch that he should have taken up on the boundary. All these things just go into the notebook. Everyone contributed, but I thought the captain was just brilliant. I was very happy about one other point. Towards the end, Shubman Gill made it a point to say Karun Bhai's 57. Small margins. His 57. Think about it. I talked about emotion at the top of the program. Here's someone whose career has gone nowhere, his life has gone nowhere almost. And then he comes back and all of a sudden he finds the one thing that he hasn't found in his career. He finds faith. And this faith gives him 4 test matches. That 57 was worth its weight in the gold, and I was delighted that Shubman Gill mentioned it. And this team is ready for the next few years. Jadeja showing no signs of moving on. As his career progresses, he'll be more batter than bowler. But in the next few years, year and a bit, he's playing at home and he's playing in Sri Lanka. India's big test comes in New Zealand a year and a half from now, by which time a lot of these players would have seen a lot more of cricket, but they would have seen a lot more of life as well. I think in Rahul and Jaiswal, you've got an opening team for the future. KL Rahul, if he handles his fitness and stays as composed as he has, got 4 years left in him. Shubman Gill is still young. Rishabh Pant is still young. Washington Sundar is still young. Siraj will never grow old. Bumrah might have to pick and choose given the condition of his back. Kuldeep will come back for the home series. Akshar Patel is just around. This is a team that a lot of opposition teams will look at and say, they are the ones for the future. And make no mistake, around the world, in Australia, in South Africa, in Pakistan and Bangladesh, everywhere, they would have followed what's happening in this series. And they would have looked at this Indian team and said, go to England with a young, inexperienced side and come back 2-2? Wow, well done. I was overjoyed. It is one of the biggest moments in my broadcasting career to have been around, to have been calling the action while it happened, to just live the emotion. And as I said, you try very hard to be rational. But if you detected that little sense of emotion in my call at the end, that's what happens. It was an absolute joy. May Test cricket never die. May nobody question 5 Test series, whoever can afford it. But if you can afford it, don't question 5 Test series. Such a show of character, such a show of ability. You have to fight tiredness, you've got to fight disappointment, and you've still got to turn up the next morning. It was one of the great series. When I finish with this game, I'll remember this one very, very fondly.
So thank you for watching and do subscribe to this channel.